Hello, this is Sabata with the Equatoria Advocacy Foundation. I hope you people are doing fine. I'm going to be sharing some information with you, but then I want to give you a heads up that I'm just sharing this information. This is for, it is intended just to empower you with knowledge, fellow Equatorians. This is by no means to assert that you are different from each other. No, but it is basically just to narrate to you from where you come. Okay, the people in Central Equatoria, the people in Eastern Equatoria, and the people in Western Equatoria. And I will be making some references to information from Google. I'm sure you people have come across this information in Google, and when you look at the top here, I don't know if you can read it that well. It says early colonial period. All right, and I pulled this off Wikipedia just to give you a rough image of what I would say, and I will be verifying the information from this document here on Google. The information that you will be getting from me today is that as you know, you Equatorians, you are divided such that there are people of the Eastern Equatoria, there are people of Central Equatoria, and the people of Western Equatoria. And the people of Eastern Equatoria historically have been organized together with people from the Upper Nile province back before Equatoria province was created. And I'm talking about Equatoria province of the Anglo Egyptians sometimes back. And the people of Central Equatoria have been organized. People of the Central Equatoria of today have been organized under administration of Belgians, who are from the Congo actually. And then the people of Western Equatoria have been organized under administration of the Bahr al-Ghazal province of Anglo-Egyptian sometimes back. And so basically there came a time when a huge part from the Upper Nile was basically administratively established into a province, and it was called Mangala. And then also came a time in history, after a couple of years, then the administration of this territory, which is now the Central Equatoria, got taken from the Belgians under the British, and basically that got amalgamated into Mangala. And so basically Mangala province extended to now the Western Nile, western side of the River Nile. And also at a point in history, a huge part of the Bahr al-Ghazal was administratively chipped off and then attached to Mangala, and the two huge parts, that was Mangala province and the huge administrative part that was taken off the Bahr al-Ghazal province, the two were amalgamated together around 1937, and then Equatoria got established, which is the current map today. And it was around that time that we have seen the name of Equatoria now appearing, and I will verify this information in a minute. So based on what I've just explained to you, I want to read very quickly and then explain what I've just said actually. So basically, I'm going to start reading. It says here that until 1906, Mangala province was part of the Upper Nile province, okay? Until 1906, Mangala province. Mongala province was part of the Upper Nile province. So that means there has not been anything called Mongola province until 1906. Until 1906, then it got established. That's why the author here said that until 1906, Mongola province was part of the Upper Nile province, after which it became a separate administration. You see, after which then it became a separate administration. That is, a separate administration was established in 1906, and then Mongola province was created. Otherwise, it was part of the Upper Nile. And I will tell you in a minute the geopolitical demographic of what Mongola is and all the communities that come from that territory, and that includes all the people of the Eastern Equatoria today. The first governor was Angus Cameron Owen. All right, this is the name. Appointed in January 1906. You see, January 1906, that is just around that time when Mongola was established. A party from the Anglican Church Missionary Society, CMS, arrived at the same month in January. They arrived there in Mongola province, all right? But decided it was not suitable for a base and instead located the mission downstream at Bor. Now let me explain what I am saying here. So in 1906, around January, Mongola province was established, and it is the territory, it is the marking, the map of what today is known as the Eastern Equatoria, and it extends all the way to the River Nile, all right, which was the White Nile, or you want to call it Bahar Jebel, or it's the River Nile. So all this territory, including the current Mangala, which is northern part, the northern barrier, all this territory was established into what is called the Mongala province in 1906 in January. And then this gentleman, whose name is Angus Cameron Owen, was made the governor at the time. All right. Now, I want to also clarify that there has already been some other provinces, and I think there were about 8 provinces. Now, with the establishment of Mongola, it now makes the 9th province. There were already 8 provinces existing in Sudan at the time under administration of a governor general, and the governor general was regional winged at the time. But now that in 1906, when this Mongola province was getting established in January, a governor was appointed, and his name is Angus Cameron Owen. Okay, and it extends this Mongola is what is the Eastern Equatoria today, and it extends all the way to what is called the River Nile or the White Nile. All right. Now, at that time, the western side of the Nile was administratively under the Belgians. There is a gentleman by the name of Leopold who was running the Congo Free State, and it was also administering this territory of the people who are called the Central Equatoria today. Let me continue reading, and things will be clearer as I continue reading. Now, this Christian Missionary Society, they came in January. They came, and by the way, the administration of Mongola province was run from Mangala, the Mangala of today. That is the northern barrier, all right? It's just in the eastern side of the Nile. When this CMS, the Christian Missionary Society, came, well, Mangala was the administration where the governor, Owen Cameron, was administering affairs or the matters of the province at the time. But they didn't feel that it was comfortable. They didn't want to establish their base there. So they went downstream. They went further to Bor. That means they entered into the province of Upper Nile and established their base there in Bor, because Bor is inside now the province of Upper Nile. But the new province, which is Mongala, they avoided it because they felt it is not suitable. Now, just to give you a background, Cameron, Angus Cameron, was he was a British, okay, but the workers who were working under him were Egyptians and people from northern Sudan, and they were Muslims. Okay, those people were Muslims, even though Cameron was a Christian. Now, the Christian Missionary Society, they have come there. Now, I'm going to get into a very interesting story here. But decided to borrow, yes. The colonial administration opposed efforts by the CMS, that is Christian Missionary Society, to convert the Bor and Bari people of Mongala. So the Christian Missionary Society, they came up there because they want to carry evangelization. But the governor, that is Angus Cameron, opposed. He didn't want. And you will further down, when I read later, you will come to realize that he refused because he felt that most of his workers were Muslims. Those Egyptians and those northerners were Muslims. And if he allows evangelization to be carried there, those Muslims might feel as though they will not feel comfortable. And he didn't want to get entangled into this politics of religion. You see, Christianity and Islam and all that. So he avoided. He said, no, I don't want you to come and evangelize these people here in Mongala. These are and that is the reason why he refused. Let me continue going downstream. And the other interesting thing about this is because this Christian Missionary Society people, by the way, are the ones who are behind the initiation of what is called the Anyanya movement, Anyanya 1, because they wanted to preserve the Christianity principles, which they felt they are the ones who taught to the people of the southern part of the country. That is going to happen sometimes back when the Juba conference took place, and the result of the Juba conference came out that the southerners were going to remain together with the north. This Christian Missionary Society are the ones who are going to instigate or kind of pump those of Father Saturnino Ohure to start passing out message about a movement, and it was pretty much to preserve Christianity. Okay, movement of the Anyanya, to have the Anyanya basically cut off the south from the north, out of fear that the north will eventually turn these people into Christianity when they later leave. So that means then most of the work that they did during evangelization will go will go for nothing. You see what I'm saying? And this is also justified by some articles that stated that scholars like those of Turabi and Al-Marghani and some other religious extremists of the Islamic faith basically accused this Christian Missionary Society to have actually created this identity of Southern Christians, and as opposed to, of course, they who are Muslims in the north. And they said if it is not for the Christian Missionary Society, the Southerners would have actually left their traditional beliefs and embraced Islam, and pretty much Sudan would have been an Islamic country under one identity. But this is for some other time. I'm kind of trying to I don't want to entangle the message that I'm trying to give about the social groups, these people who are coming from the Eastern Equatoria, those who are coming from Central Equatoria, and those who are coming from the from the West. I don't want to mix the messages. So Cameron desired to avoid friction with the Muslims who had undertaken most of the work of building and servicing the new provincial capital. Yes, because Mongola was a new province at the time, and the provincial capital was Mangala, the current Mangala of today. So here, Cameron decided that the Christian Missionary Society should not evangelize around Mangala there, because he desired to avoid friction with the Muslims who had undertaken most of the work of building and servicing the new provincial capital. And those people were the Egyptians and the Northerners. And pretty much, if not all, probably 95% of them were soldiers. They were troops. In 1910, Theodore Roosevelt, around 1910, was already a former president of the United States of America, visited the province. He visited this newly created, this newly established province of Mangala. He visited the province. Now, before his arrival, the governor, Cameron Owen, informed Governor General Regional Wingard that everything would be done for the former president, who is actually Theodore Roosevelt of the United States. Everything is to be ready, but also pointed out that his troops had not even one donkey. You see, so he's saying, look, everything seems to be okay, but then my troops have not even one donkey. And I'm assuming that is the donkey that I guess Theodore Roosevelt is going to be made to sit on as he comes in. I don't know. This is how it worked at the time. You know, when Jesus was coming to Bethlehem, he was riding in a donkey, right? And people were laying down some leaves and all that. You know, that's the red carpet, and the donkey was walking on top of it. Maybe that was the arrangement at the time. And okay, but also pointed out that his troops had not even one donkey. Now, Roosevelt's expedition, that means Roosevelt was also coming with a group of people, reached Mongala at the end of February. So that's just 1 month after the establishment of the new province of Mongala, which is actually the 9th province out of the provinces in Sudan, at the end of February. Now, coming from the Belgium Congo via the Ladu enclave. You see, so he basically went through the area which is currently the Central Equatoria, but at the time it was called Ladu enclave, and then entered, probably crossed the River Nile, or you can call it White Nile if you want, crossed the Nile and entered into the newly established territory of Mongala province. He was impressed by the Egyptian and Sudanese troops, those workers, all right? But when visiting a native dance, he commented on the lack of middle-aged men. So basically that meant that he was impressed with, while he was impressed with the Egyptian and Sudanese troops, but when he went to a native dance, that means one of those tribes probably had been performing dances. You know how this Gabail bita Junub there, they like performing dances and all that. So he must have walked around, you know, and went and probably saw those communities performing dances and all that. But then he was alarmed because there were no middle-aged men. Young men who were middle-aged were lacking. So pretty much maybe most of them were females actually, and younger people and maybe elderly people doing the dances. And let us see what has been concluded about the lack of middle-aged men. A result of the Mahdi's wars that had ended over 10 years ago. So we are talking about a time of 1910. That was when Theodore Roosevelt came through there. And 10 years ago was just roughly around 1899. That was when there was a general by the name of, I think, Kitchener, who was really taking off the Ansars at the time of the Mahadis, and I would assume then that maybe some middle-aged men from these local communities were also got entangled around those fights, whether together with assisting the Ansars, I don't know, assisting the forces of Kitchener at the time, I don't know, but most likely with the Ansars, because during those days it was the Mahdists who was actually running affairs of Sudan all the way even to the southern territories, some areas in the southern territories. So basically middle-aged men were missing because 10 years ago there has been a heavy war between the Mahdists and this guy Kitchener, who actually came and took over the administration of Mahdi out and reinstated the administration of British, which later on we have seen what is called the Anglo-Egyptian rule established in Sudan at the time. Now, in June 1910, the British Sudanese forces took over the Ladu enclave from the Belgians. Now, let me clarify here that took over, it was not taken by force or by fighting. It was actually in an agreement, all right? Because this guy called Leopold died in 1909. So in 1910, the British actually went and negotiated with the Belgians and said, look, Leopold now died. We had an agreement with him. The Congolese Treaty of 1894. It was called the Congolese Free Trade Treaty. If you Google Congolese Free Trade Treaty of 1894, you should see that treaty in Google. It actually said that this territory, which is called the Ladu enclave, which is the territory of the central Equatoria today, had been leased out to Leopold to make fortune out of it. In return, he was supposed to give a strip to the British through which there was a railway line that was planned to be constructed from South Africa all the way to Egypt. Okay, so that is just something. The Anglican and Roman Catholic missionaries requested that Sunday be retained as a Sabbath at Ladu. Okay, and the word Ladu here is used, but actually when the administration was taken from the Belgians, it was kind of amalgamated into what is called the existing Mongola province, and it became all Mongola. But I think the author used the word Ladu here to create the distinction that only that place, because just to clarify, the Muslim troops from these Egyptians and the Northerners, you know, they're Muslims, they worship on Fridays. All right, so Governor Cameron Angus allowed Friday to pretty much be the off day. But then when the administration of Ladu was taken from the Belgians and brought under the British, and at the time Wingate was the Governor General, and of course Angus Cameron was now the governor in Mongola. So the Christian Missionary Society are saying, okay, these people, this Ladu territory, they have been worshiping on Sunday, so leave Sunday, retain Sunday to be their day of worship. But let us see what Angus Cameron argued back. However, Governor Owen opposed retaining Sunday. He felt that the more bigoted Muslims in the army would object to working on Friday. The more bigoted, that is the fundamentals, the Nasal Mutmasikin with the Islamic faith, will object to work on Friday. Because if you are retaining Sunday to be a day of worship in that territory called Ladu, then you would then Sunday would be the holiday there. You would expect Friday will be a day of work. But then Angus is saying, no, these extremist Muslims are going to refuse to work on Friday. So the holidays must be on Friday, you see. And this is because Angus is now responsible for even this territory, but at the current central Equatoria, which is Ladu, which has been retained from the Belgium. So now work is extended all the way there. You see, these Egyptian troops and the Sudanese troops are even extending developmental projects or programs all the way to the current central Equatoria, which was Ladu at the time. So again, Angus refused and said, no, I'm gonna move the worshipping days to Friday, because I want to make sure that Sunday will become the holidays, because there are a lot of Muslims here, and then Sunday everybody will just work, including these Muslims. And noted that all recruits to the army were instructed in the Muslim religion. All right. So if you have noticed that the missionary societies have always been objected by whatever they recommend. Angus objected to it, and they felt it is because it's written somewhere. Maybe we'll come across it later. It is here. The missionaries interpreted this as due to the influence of Islam in weakening the spiritual ideals of the officials. You see, so now the Christian missionary societies are now thinking that probably Owen Angus is just behaving like that because he has been hanging around this Muslim for quite a long time. Now his spiritual faith, that conviction has become weak. You see, that is why he is now becoming so lenient. But probably the governor maybe is seeing it from a different angle altogether. Let us continue. A few months later, however, Owen proposed creation of an Equatoria battalion composed entirely of Southerners. You see, now this is the Equatoria Corps that are going to later be, these are the ones who are going to be fighting the war of the Anyanya later. And this is now Angus Cameron, who is creating them the governor at the time. And remember, this is around 19, I don't know, 19, it should be 1913. This force, so that means the territory has been retained in 1910, it has been taken from Belgians, but around 1913, this decision happened. Now, this force would be taught to follow English commands and the Christian faith, which would, over time, unite with Uganda and would prevent spread of the Muslim faith further south. Look, spreading the Islamic faith further south is a project that, imagine, Angus, since then, they have planned this thing. And by the way, it is one of the reasons why the US backed the SPLM and made sure that the referendum get held, because they knew that the Southerners are going to vote for a separate country, because it was a proxy war with the fanatic Muslims. They wanted to prevent spread of the Islamic faith further south, because of the fact that Osama bin Laden has been hanging around in Khartoum and building schools in Soba and taught a lot of Nigerians and Somali, you know, the principles of fundamentalism. As you can see now, Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, and in the northern part of Uganda there are also these Muslims who have been taught in Sudan by these fanatics. So the project of actually stopping spread of Islam going further south has been since that time a project that ended up around 2011. And yes, these troops are going to be commanded, they are going to be taught in English language, and they are going to be Christians, of course, in faith, and they will unite with the Ugandans and later on prevent spread of Islam further south. That is what is being planned here. Owen's plan was approved by Wingate, who was the Governor General. Wingate said, we must remember that the bulk of the inhabitants are not Muslims at all. That the whole of Uganda has accepted Christianity almost without a mamur. And that furthermore, English is a very easier language to learn than Arabic, you see. So we get basically approved this and say, let us remember, in Uganda, these guys just accepted Islam even without a mamur sitting around them, without an administration of a mamur, but they just embrace Christianity, you see. And he said, yeah, things will be easier. English will be taught to them. They will learn English very quickly because English is easier than they learning Arabic. Because you have to remember, those local ethnic communities spoke their languages at the time. In 1913, the government increased a restriction on private travel and immigrants, which meant anybody arriving in Mongala and wishing to go north from Uganda or the Belgian Congo could be examined for sleeping sickness by a medical officer. The maximum punishment for any breach of the new regulations was a fine of 10. I don't know whether that was 10, I don't know whether it is 10 what, or a 6-month prison sentence. On 7th December 1917, at least the last of the northern Sudanese troops were withdrawn from Mongala, replaced by Equatoria troops. These are the Equatoria Corps. These southern and at least nominally Christian troops remained the only permanent garrison of the town and province until their mutiny in August 1955. You see, these are the Equatorial Corps. And remember, when they were trained over there, when they were established, there were some quarters. Some quarters were in Torit, some quarters were also in the territory of what is called the current Central Equatoria, which is which used to be Lado, but now that the administration was taken in 1910, it is now annexed to what is called Mongala province. So Mongala province then extended. Now it includes the current territory of what was called Central Equatoria. So now, if you have noticed, we have now seen that Mongala province extend the current Eastern Equatoria comes now with the administrative annexation of Lado into Mongala, so it now extends into the territory of or covers all the area which is now called the Central Equatoria. Now, at what point has the Western Equatorians come to be? Now, remember, the province of Bahr al-Ghazal extended all the way. Now, so you have initially you have all those 8 provinces. Upper Nile province was here, Bahr al-Ghazal province was here, and then you have the Lado enclave in the middle, the area which is called Central Equatoria. So at a point in 1906, then an administrative decision was taken. So Upper Nile, out of the entire Upper Nile, Mongola was established, which is the Eastern Equatoria. It extended all the way to the Nile. Then the territory of Lado was administratively annexed into it. It became all the way here. Now, this part here is what is called the Bahr al-Ghazal province, and I'm talking about only the provinces of the south. I'm not interested in the Blue Nile province, Kordofan province, in the northern side. No, I'm only talking about the province of the south. So now you have the Bahr al-Ghazal province here. Now, at what point has the Equatoria, Western Equatoria, which was part of the Bahr al-Ghazal, ended up becoming part of the entire Mongala, which comes all the way to the Central Equatoria of today? Let me read another article now from here. You see these things that I've underlined. This is now in 1937. Now in 1937, some of the administrative officials were changed. Around that time, the Governor General was somebody by the name of Stewart Symes. So in 1937, Sir Stewart Symes, the Governor General, they are all called Sir. I've been avoiding the word Sir even General Wingate is called Sir Regional Wingate. Herbert Kitchener was Sir Herbert Kitchener. Sir, but I've just been avoiding it. So in 1937, Sir Stewart Symes, the Governor General, now he's the Governor General in 1937, no longer Sir Regional Wingate, okay, the Governor General amalgamated two large provinces of Mongola. You remember Mongola, the one I've said, the one that have become the eastern, the one that is the current eastern Equatoria and the central Equatoria. It was called Mongola province. Amalgamated this Mongola province and El Bahar al Ghazal into a single huge Equatoria province. You see, so he did not amalgamate all the Bahar al Ghazal, no, only part of the Bahar al Ghazal into one Equatoria. Shift again in 1937. So now he took part of the Bahar al Ghazal province, okay, and then this Mongola province, and then amalgamated it into one huge single Equatoria. That was in 1937. So now you have seen the map of the current Equatoria has been formed with Mongola and this part of Bahar al Ghazal. It has now been formed into Equatoria. Now Equatoria has been established. Now in this Equatoria that has been established, you will come to realize that, you know, and now Equatoria is here, Upper Nile is here, Bahar al Ghazal is here, okay, Bahar al Ghazal province. Now Equatoria province is the last province that has been created out of part of this Bahar al Ghazal and part of this Upper Nile. You see that? Part of this Upper Nile was called Mongola, part of this Bahar al Ghazal was also annexed, and then the administrative area of the Congolese, that is the central Equatoria, is in the middle here. That has made what is called the Equatoria. So Upper Nile province remained here, Bahar al Ghazal province remained here. All right. So in 1972, when Addis Ababa was signed, now these three provinces got developed into one regional government. All right. When we had that one regional government, we had these three provinces. Now in 1976, then these three provinces, each province was divided into two by an administrative act. Okay, so now what happened here with the Equatoria province is that the area which was called the Mangala province, which is the east and then across the Nile and to the area of Ladu, the area which was called Mangala now was called Eastern Equatoria province. Now the part which was broken from Bahar al Ghazal remained Western Equatoria province. You see, that is how we ended up with what is called Eastern Equatoria province and Western Equatoria province from 1976. And it continued like that until 1983, when this one huge region was broken into three. Then these three provinces, which has been standing here, were made regions. So now we have three regions, but they were the original former three provinces. Now they are called regions. Do you just see? Now each region has two provinces. In the Equatoria, there is Eastern. In the Equatoria region, there is Eastern Equatoria province and Western Equatoria province. In the Bahar al Ghazal region, there is Western Equatoria province and I think Lakes province, if I'm not mistaken. In the Upper Nile region, there is Jungule province and there is Upper Nile province also. You see, that is inside Upper Nile region. Inside Upper Nile region, there is Upper Nile province as well. Now, here in the Equatoria, with East Equatoria being here, West Equatoria being here, after some times, then Central Equatoria got established, and now we have East Equatoria, Central Equatoria, West Equatoria. Now, when you look at the Central Equatoria, it is back the same area, which was Ladu Enclave. So, if you have noticed, we have just gone back to that same shape, which is Eastern Equatoria comes, but this time the Central Equatoria, that is the Ladu Enclave, did not only end in the western side, but it also chipped some other parts in the eastern side of the Nile. Even though formally all the territories in the eastern side of the Nile were part of Upper Nile and part of Mongala province. It had nothing to do with Ladu Enclave. But now Central Equatoria now extends up to there. You know, when you look at the territories of Mangala areas like Lokiliri, all these territories are now part of Central Equatoria. You see, so I'm just giving this kind of information just for consumption purposes. This is very important, and as we hold ourselves as Equatorians, it's very important. As we hold ourselves as Equatorians, most important thing is, you know, people harmonize through what is called the principles, Mabadi, the principles that we live by, and the character traits that we uphold as we coexist, we respect each other and all that, and eventually that harmony will develop. But again, this is just basically the general background of how the Equatorial people have been. Hey, thank you very much. I hope this is just an information that is taken for consumption purposes, and it's just to kind of give you a background of how you have been formed together, and where you were formally, all right, from a political standpoint. And of course that just the fact that people from the eastern Equatoria all the way the eastern side of the Nile have been administratively together with people of Upper Nile. I'm not necessarily saying from a cultural standpoint there is similarity, and people from this territory of Western Equatoria, they have been administratively organized also under the people of together with the people of Bahar al-Ghazal province. I'm not necessarily saying from a cultural standpoint they are together, but I'm not necessarily saying this. But of course we also know, we will not deny the fact that from a cultural standpoint, the people with whom you are entangled or administratively kept together, sometimes you will find yourself kind of adjusting to each other. Just like, for example, immigrants, people who have been resettled to the US, you know, find that their cultural values change because of the surrounding, the people who are around, and the administration that regulates people's life around here, kind of disciplines individuals to a certain line, you see. So for that, or maybe that explains why the people from Central Equatoria are inclined to Congolese, you know, rumba hits, and kind of people who are so melon, they don't like much trouble, just like the Congolese to a certain degree. I don't know. It could be. I don't know. But yeah, that's the situation. All right. Hey, thank you very much. We'll meet again in some other discussion. Next time I will come and explain how the rhino ended up becoming the symbol of Central Equatoria, and the pineapple ended up becoming the symbol of the Western Equatorians, and the leopold ended up becoming the symbol of the Eastern Equatorians. All right. God bless you.